We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way.
We're on a mission from God.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Oh, this is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
I can see Russia from my house.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We like drink box water bottles.
I don't know. The proof is a proof. What kind of a proof? It's a proof.
Here come the players. Champions. 1989. Canadians win the Stanley Cup. El Presidente, El Perfecto.
Sidney Crosby, the golden goal! And the Blue Jays have repeated as World Series champions. Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Welcome to the Edge of Tomfoolery.
I have these notes, so I gotta say I'm just fired up to be here today. Pretty cool. Wow!
Hey, what is going on? My name is Bruce Mackey, and this, my friends, is the Edge of Tomfoolery. We talk about the music, we talk about the politics, we talk about the sports, and a little bit of other tomfoolery mixed in there. Joining me tonight, we've got a few guests tonight, and joining me in studio, the man is so good he has been vaccinated 17 times. His name is Sir Robert Morris. Bobby, how are you?
And I've got the scars to prove it. I'm doing well, Bruce.
Any side effects at all?
Just this little tick, that's about all.
And you're not magnetic or anything like that? Like you coins and things?
Don't think so. No.
Oh, man.
No.
And someone who has just been announced as the next chuck wagon driver in this year's edition of the Calgary Stampede. His name is Stevie Height. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. We're going to go rogue. They're not letting us in there, but I'm just going to ride it down. I'm just going to ride it right down Center Street, right to the tower this year. So that'll be Calgary. There's horses everywhere. They'll get used to it.
So they're like, you didn't have it last year, right? There was no Calgary Stampede last year?
No. Oh, much to the chagrin of the entire populace.
Were they mad?
Oh, yeah. And like half of Saskatchewan was mad. Like it was bad. It was bad news.
So when you have the like, do people from Edmonton actually come to this too? Or do you let them?
Yeah. It's like a whole like Western Canadian thing. Like they're coming from everywhere. They're like Montana just sends them all over. It's a thing. So.
Oh man, we got to get out there one year. Maybe we could do the podcast from out there.
Oh, that'd be something else. I'll tell you that.
That would be something, eh?
That'd be something else.
We're talking hockey tonight, but first we have got another guest host. I am pleased to welcome to the program, Mr. Scott Simmons. Scotty Simmons, welcome to the program. It's good to have you on, my friend.
Oh, thanks so much. That was a pretty warm welcome, and sounded like there's some real fans there. So
I know we have. I mean, we go to no expense here at the Edge of Tomfoolery. We have a big, robust budget, and so for those joining the program, Scott played Belleville Bulls hockey here from 2010 to 2014. You were a two-sport athlete at the University of Guelph, playing. Was it badminton and cricket?
Intramurals, yeah, it was a few things there, swimming and volleyball, so it was good.
Hockey and rugby for those keeping track at home, and so we're glad to have you on the program. We're gonna start off and ask you a few questions, but then we want you to stick around with us, and really we value your opinion on all things hockey. That's what we really do. And for those who are watching at home, you've got a very handsome cardboard cutout in the back there. Look at that bad boy. That is the likeness of a one Bruce Mackey wearing a Manchester Storm shirt. And you've been playing hockey, of course, in Manchester. So we'll talk about that as well. So my question for you, Scott, is what memory stands out from your 4 years in the Ontario Hockey League?
That's a good question. I think there's a few things that do stand out for sure. One thing that really is clear for me is playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, going into Game 7. Against the Barrie Colts, and guys like Mark Scheifele and Andreas Athanasiou and Aaron Ekblad on the other team. So that's a pretty cool memory to play against guys like that, and then to have a good team ourselves. That we had a lot of fun that year.
Do you remember Aaron Ekblad? Remember there was do you remember a saying, Bobby? It said "Be bad for Ekblad," because I think he was going to be like the first round pick.
I don't remember that, but
Oh,
it's catchy.
And I have a distinct memory that involves you, Scott, because I was in a fantasy hockey pool with you guys, and you had won an award, and you were at the Hockey Hall of Fame. I think it was for what was the award for? Do you remember?
It was the Humanitarian of the Year.
Oh, Humanitarian of the Year, and they presented to you. You can honk your own horn. That's all good. and we were there, and I remember I was proud as punch, and we were there at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and then Connor McDavid was over at the side, and so was Aaron Ekblad. And I remember I said, "Oh man, I've got the first pick in the fantasy pool. I'm gonna go over and get my picture taken with Ekblad." So I went over and I said, "Can I get my picture taken with you?" And I've got the picture, and I'm shaking his hand. I said, "By the way," I said, I'm drafting you first overall in my fantasy pool. Welcome to the Crease Weasels."
I gained some massive respect for you then, Bruce. That was pretty cool that you did that.
And then he just kind of looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm happy to be part of things."
Happy to join the Crease Weasels. Yeah.
It's all good. So talking about the OHL and Ontario Hockey League, how difficult is it going to be? The Quebec League played this year. The Western League played this year. The OHL did not. And when you're looking at the draft, when you're looking at development of hockey players, how difficult is it going to be? Do you think there's going to be some steals in the draft where people end up going in the late rounds when, had they played, they probably would have gone higher? Do you think that's going to happen? How critical is it that there was no hockey this year in the OHL?
I think it was very tough for them, for everybody involved in the OHL, that they didn't get to play. Obviously, as you said, the other leagues got some games, which I think in the grand scheme will be huge for the players. But for the NHL draft, I feel like they have a pretty good idea. They've been watching these guys for a long time, so there obviously will be a few steals, but there always is. And I think that most of the guys kind of have an idea. Most of the scouts have an idea who they want, even though they hardly saw the play, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we had Mark Osborne. He made it known he was a pro scout, and then they've got the amateur scouts. And Stevie, did you pick up there was kind of a little bit of a thing there, rivalry between the two?
Yeah, I felt like a bit of an Edmonton Calgary, where clearly he thought the pros like Calgary was clearly way better, and so he wasn't sort of mincing any words about that. So that was, it felt like a rivalry, but it was like the rivalry was already solved for him. So I think that's how the pro.
It's like, well, the amateur guys. I mean, it was just like, whoa, hey. So, Bobby, you got a question there for Scotty?
Yes, you had mentioned earlier, Bruce, that Scott in university was a two-sport athlete, and I guess it really wasn't badminton and cricket. It was rugby and hockey, I understand. My question is, Scott, did you ever have to play both sports on the same weekend or even on the same day?
There was actually a few times, where I was able to do that. Obviously, scheduling was pretty amazing, playing two sports, usually practicing twice a day, and then getting the opportunity on the weekends to just be flying around and doing whatever I could. So usually rugby, since it was such a short season, would kind of take precedent in the fall. So if there was a conflict, I'd play the rugby game. But there was nationals. We held nationals in Guelph, and I think I played like 3 rugby games and 2 hockey games in 3 days. So it was so fun. Like I would go from rugby in the afternoon. My dad was huge in getting me to the hockey games because I would miss the bus. So he would take me from the rugby game to the hockey game, and I'd play that night. So it was a blast, and definitely a time I look back on pretty fondly.
And hearing Bob Cole describe games, they have scrums in both, apparently.
Oh, they
do they ever?
Yes.
Jono, you got a question?
Yeah. I was going to say, Scott, what type of adversity have you encountered in sports, and how have you sort of dealt with the criticism that comes?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm feeling pretty blessed in my activities and in my career of playing sports. Adversity, obviously, everybody faces it, and I don't really think there's one thing that really stands out too clear. I guess one thing, like in Belleville, my dad and my parents and a few of my closer friends were the owners of the team there, and so you kind of run into, hey, like that's the owner's kid, and not that I actually ever really felt that it benefited me, but you always get people talking about it, especially people that somehow find out on the other teams. Like you get the odd guy that would know and somehow like just give you a little bit on the ice, like a little bit of flack. So it was totally fine, and I actually don't feel at all that it was like something I couldn't overcome, and definitely did in the end. So yeah, it's pretty minor adversity for I feel like there's a lot of people that have more intense stories than that, but yeah, there's always something to overcome in sports for sure.
Were you ever on the receiving end of some pretty witty and good chirps? What are some of the best chirps that kind of stand out?
Honestly, like I was such a, I don't know, I want to say like kind of like a loser on the ice, but I would just smile. I would just smile at the guys, and they would just like, no one would say much to me, which I really appreciated. So I think it was like I didn't have anything to say to them, so I just smiled, and they didn't really have anything to say to me. So it worked out.
I helped coach one of the rep teams that my son was on, and we had one kid who was very creative, and they would always say stuff to him, and he'd just look at them, smile, and say, "I like grapes." And like, what was that about? Like, right off the wall, and it totally diffused everything, and it got them off, and then he'd go and get in front of that and score. So
I got a little story for you, Bruce. If you remember, Foolery he played in London, and then he went on to play. I think he's still playing. I think he's in Chicago now. Our goalie was Charlie Graham, or he was the backup goalie, and he was on the bench, and he went and he told, I don't know what happened, but he said, "Hey, Oli, what's the matter?" And then Oli Mata turned to him, and he would have been already like pretty known and like kind of an NHL draft pick, and he said, "Shut up, backup." That's all he said back to him. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, sometimes, during the lockout and or not the lockout, but during this year in the NHL, when they haven't had fans in the stands, you could actually hear more than you normally would hear, and so and sometimes it's not to a good thing. But tell me about, who is your favorite billet family, Scott?
You'd think that'd be an easy answer, actually. I don't know.
You've had a few billets.
I've had a couple billets.
You can say Wellington. I won't take it personally.
I have been very fortunate to have great billets wherever I've been. And I mean, it's crazy to think of people bringing teenage guys and probably girls in some aspects into their house and letting them live with them. So I'm super thankful. I will say 4 years spent in Belleville was made a lot better by the family that I live with there in the Mackey household. I was going to give your address, but I won't do that again.
Yeah. I'm in Ivanhoe, so you can come in.
There it is. Look him up.
And currently now you're playing overseas in England, and you had played when the pandemic first broke, and then you got home, and then you went back for a super elite series. You led the team in scoring. Talk about playing in England. How are hockey fans in England? Do you actually in England, is it true that you play on the different end of the ice, just like they drive, like on different zones and stuff like that? Or?
You got to go at the other end of the bench. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
defensemen go up the forward side.
They're great. I mean, I would say it's a young, like they know their hockey, but they're still a young fan base technically, whereas in Canada, they've seen it forever. But they have that European fan mentality in England, where it's bring your drums, bring your chants, have a few beers or a lot of beers, and then just enjoy the atmosphere at the rink, which I kind of wish it was like that here. Like you see on TV. I mean, even in Montreal, they had the chance to have 2,500 people, and they're still boring fans. Like
listen.
What?
We can take you out of this podcast as soon as we got you on.
That's totally fun. No, but they're great, and I think it's really cool to kind of get that chance to play in front of people that are that passionate, and they might not know exactly what's going on, but they definitely love to see the hits and the physicality and anything good that happens. They're pretty pumped for. So yeah, it's
do they sing, Scotty, like they do at the soccer games or
yeah, they do. They sing like a version of When the Saints Go Marching In, but they do it When the Storm Go Marching In. Like they change things like that, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Like some of the away games, even, they're pretty clever. Like up in Scotland and stuff, they just like scream at you, and you're just like, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're trying to say to me, but they're passionate.
Eat paper, no.
They punch the team in.
Yeah.
Well, listen, can you stick around? And we want to talk hockey, so we're going to have you talking the sports. And so we are heading to Game 7 between the Leafs and the Habs. So I want to set this up for a bit. So if you've ever heard of Steve Dangles, have you ever heard of Steve Dangles? He, if you haven't heard of him, he's the guy. Let me just play part of his thing here. He was the guy that does a lot of, he's a massive Leaf fan. And I first came to prominence and found out about him last year when David Ayres went into net. He's the Zamboni driver. And this guy went and made a passionate plea. And I'm going to play part of the interview with Steve Dangles.
That's not even the worst part. Are you kidding me? That's not even close. The Toronto Maple Leafs lost an actual National Hockey League game to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for them. Forget Game 7 in 2013, in 2018, in 2019. Wow, they get humiliated a lot. Well, forget all of them. They just lost to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for the team. Whoa.
So that's Steve Dangles. He got quite animated, and I think he wrote a book. It's called How My Life Was Ruined by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like he's a massive fan. So if you get on YouTube on a game night, you can actually watch the TSN or the Sportsnet feed of the actual hockey game, and he's in the corner giving his commentary, and it's classic. So here he was in Game 5.
The Leafs over the past few years actually have a decent record in overtime in the playoffs. Oh no! 2-0. Oh no! Son of a gun!
Okay, so that was his commentary, and Isaac, my son, just loves watching. He gets very into it, and I actually feel bad. Like he was so passionate. And then Game 6 on Saturday night, and we'll talk about that in a second. But here is his take on that.
Stripes, if you could pick up that helmet, that'd be cool.
Paul Byron to Shea Weber and back. Travis Dermott.
Oh no! Oh, Dermott.
Kotkaniemi scores! Yes, Barry Kotkaniemi, and there will be a Game 7.
I didn't add that.
Gave them one bloody thing in that overtime, and we're going to Game 7. I honestly can't believe it.
I didn't put the wah, wah, wah. That was them doing it. So Scott, did you watch both games, Game 5 and Game 6?
I watched both games. Yeah. And,
what was your impression of game from a Leaf perspective? You're a Leaf fan. Honestly, how did you feel they played in game? Well, actually, we'll go back to Game 5. How did you feel they played in Game 5?
I feel like I'm being set up for something here.
No, we're just honestly having a roundtable. I'm not. We'll go back to Game 5, then we'll talk Game 6.
Yeah, I thought in Game 5 actually. I thought both teams played pretty well, and I would say probably Montreal deserved to win in the grand scheme of that game.
Yeah. How important, Bob, do you feel having the presence of actual fans in the stand was, and how much it pumped up Montreal's tires?
Oh, I think it helped them quite a bit.
Yeah. And you're a lifelong Leaf fan as well, right?
Well, I've been known to cheer for both, but yeah, I guess. Yep.
Bob and I, you have cheered for Montreal, haven't you? Bob and I were actually in the stands Patrick Roy's last game with Montreal. So we have gone to Montreal a fair bit. Now, the 2,500 fans, did you see the ticket prices, Steve? How much tickets cost to get into the games?
Yeah, I saw some that were, well, they started at 1,000. I saw some that were going up to like 1,500, $2,000. Like I saw some crazy numbers for seats in there. So.
And did you notice that there was a lot of, like, there was not a lot, but there was Leaf fans there. And I think there was people that came from Ontario and drove down to Montreal. Now, I was under the impression there was a stay-at-home order. And if you cross the border, do you have to quarantine for 14 days when you come back after that game? I was actually going to call, if Toronto had won, I was going to call the snitch line and tell them to stand outside the 401 and the 20 and just pick them off like flies and just say, hey, listen.
It's a bad day to be in Hawkesbury, Ontario, I think, on that one.
That's true.
How that works.
So I will say game 5, the 2-0. It's funny. My family has always never really liked Alex Galchenyuk. We bumped into him before a game in an elevator. We were at the Brook Street in Ottawa going to see Montreal. And I mean, we saw Markov. My son went up and he autographed the picture, the whole 9 yards. Max Pacioretty, the whole 9 yards. We were in the elevator and just the 5 of us, and Alex Galchenyuk gets in the elevator with us. And then they're like, oh, can we take a picture with you? And he's like, not before the game. So wow. And after that, we've never been a major fan. But when you look at the Galchenyuk trade, when you really break it down, Galchenyuk gave that puck away, which in Game 5, which did the 2-on-0. But when you look at the trades, Montreal traded Alex Galchenyuk to Arizona, I think, for Max Domi. Then they traded Max Domi to Columbus for Mr. Anderson. And did you play against Anderson, Scott?
I did, yeah. He was in London, so I think we would only play him a couple times, but I can remember he was a good player back then.
Was he playing with Ole Mata?
Probably. I think they probably would have crossed over. I think he played with like Kachuk and those guys too, from my memory.
Man. So when you look at that trade, and Galchenyuk signed, did he sign as a free agent, or did they just pick him up off waivers in Toronto?
I think I don't want either one of those, yeah, but for free, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much for free. For free.
Not even a waivers. I think it was waivers.
Yeah, as a Calgary Flames fan, Stevie, when you watch the rivalry between Montreal and Toronto,
right?
What do you care?
Like, if it's possible to just have like an NFL tie where they walk out of the building both disappointed, that'd be my best outcome. But that doesn't work in hockey. So it doesn't like call it on account of weather because they had a hole in one of their roofs. Sure, any of those outcomes. But yeah, I don't really want to win for anyone.
So game 6 comes along, and I the whole time as a lifer Habs fan, on paper Toronto should win this series and probably still will win this series. But now in game 6, I'm like, well, I'm hopeful, but I'm not really. It's like Bob Morris in the playoffs when Belleville was winning and when they won the OHL championship. Bob refused to cheer the whole game. It was like 2-0, 3-0, and he's just not letting his emotions get out. Like, I can't let my guard down. And then when it was like 8-2, I think he did a little woohoo, and then finally 9-2, he cheered.
Oh, I went out of my mind on the 9th goal.
I think he did a whole
now, yeah.
Oh, that was great. Jonathan Chichu scored 5 goals in that game.
That was great.
I was losing my mind after like 2 goals. And so in the game on Saturday night, Montreal went up 2-0. And I will say the Toronto goalie, he made some unbelievable saves. Like it should have been 4-0 on a few of those plays. And then 2-0, they say, is the worst lead in all of hockey. I've heard that said many times. And then they came storming back. And then in the overtime, I mean, Toronto dominated Montreal. Is that your assessment, Scott?
Yeah, let's go back a little bit. I love how you kind of say, oh, I'm still not expecting Montreal to win. Like, you're kind of like playing that like, underdog card. Like, good for you. Ride that out. But I thought in game 6, Toronto big time deserved to win that game.
Sure they did.
Montreal, 10 minutes. You guys played amazing for the first 10 minutes of the game. Some interesting hockey, 0-0. And then, I mean, obviously, Marner shoots the puck out and stuff. So there was some suspect stuff going on. But, yeah, OT, 1 shot on net, goal.
Yeah.
It's very tough.
Yeah, and I love how you lump me in with all the success of Montreal, you guys, because I had really nothing to do with it. But I do. If you'd have told me, though, at the beginning of the series that we would be going to a game 7, to me, that's victory right there. Like, honestly.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Oh, listen, no, I'm serious. But I of course I want Montreal to win. But now let's talk about in Toronto. They had movement afoot to get fans in the stand, to get the same kind of deal that they had in Quebec. They wanted fully vaccinated frontline workers to come into the stands, and it was turned down this afternoon. What's your opinion on that, Bob?
I don't know. I think maybe I understand they've got to play it safe, but that might be a little over the top.
Yeah. And they're all fully vaccinated, fully masked, fully social distancing, the whole 9 yards. Like, I would have loved to have gone to a game. Like, we watched it last night, the Montreal game. And after a goal, you know, the people are running up and down the stairs and running in the aisles, which they normally wouldn't get to do. And I was thinking silly things like there'd be no line for the bathroom. You know, you could just go walk right in at any time.
Yeah. Hey.
Would they serve food at games like this? That's the question I stumped you on.
Yeah, I think there are COVID friendly food. right? Like, I don't think you want to share a bag of popcorn, but you can eat a hot dog, right?
I would think so.
Like individually packaged food. Yeah, like not. Yeah. Don't pass around the nachos. Yeah.
I don't know how that is. So and the media was going nuts on all of the, having fans around it. It was a bit of a moral victory. I mean, it's only 2,500. Do you think there will be fans in the stands for games in Canada come this fall, Bob Morris?
I'm going to say yes.
Are you?
This fall, yeah.
You don't sound convicted though. You sound kind of almost, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm a Leaf fan.
Oh,
that's what. Yeah, that's the way we talk.
And what about Calgary? Like, are they going to be with restrictions, or are they going to be, is Jason Kenney, because he's getting hit so hard, he's just going to try and appeal to everyone except the Notleys and say, wide open, my friends?
Oh yeah, it's wide open. It's sellouts every night. That's how we're rolling in Calgary.
Is the Calgary Stampede, is there any restriction on attendance at the Stampede?
Well, they're claiming it's going to look a little different. So I don't know that we're going to have the 1 million person midway that we normally have. Like, I don't know that I can ride the zipper like I normally do, but I think they're going to try and do something, but like it won't, Calgary's a little bit. Yeah.
I was going to say they'll probably serve some COVID friendly food there, I would think.
Yeah. Individual hot dogs. And
I've never heard things COVID friendly foods.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. All the kids these days, Bruce, are into it. Yeah.
How did I miss this? Tying things up in hockey. I want to, when you see the Carolina Hurricanes, when you see Nashville Predators, and the crowds are wide open there. Did you see the tweet that the Carolina Hurricanes did to the Nashville Predators? I love their social media people. And the picture was, it shows Carolina's media page, and then it shows them trying to link to Nashville's, and it says, "You have been blocked by the Nashville Predators." And it was classic. And then Nashville responded, "It's like, nice Photoshop job. We didn't block you." But those guys in Carolina, have you ever seen any of their tweets? They are witty. They are funny. And what do you think of the Carolina team, Scott Simmons?
The team's fantastic. I think they got some good players, and they've really built it well. I think their coach is good. Rob Brindamore sounds like a player-friendly coach. I think the social media has been funny. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but I remember that I think it was maybe Patty Marleau, something involved with him. Like one of the best trades or something. I forget how they.
Oh yeah, Patrick Marleau. One of the best. The best Carolina Hurricanes of all time.
Yeah, something like that. Like, they're pretty clever and they're pretty witty. So I think that maybe gets them at least 5 fans a year.
You know who my favorite player is on the Carolina Hurricanes? Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen, before a game, their assistant captain, number 48, he does this deal with Svechnikov?
It's Martinuk, right?
Yeah, that's it. You watch it and it's just, you can't help. And he's just sitting there going, "Okay, let's go, buddy. Let's go." It's classic. So, okay, we'll go around the table here. Bob, game 7, who do you pick, Montreal or Toronto?
I got to say Toronto, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Scott Simmons, who do you pick?
Well, I don't know. Like, we're happy to be here in game 7, and like, it's a victory for us. So we're pretty... I definitely pick the Leafs. I mean, I think Carey Price could be the difference in this kind of thing where it's a 1-game showdown with the best goalie in the world, but I'm going to pick the Leafs.
All right. And Stevie Height, who are you picking?
I think this is between you and Scotty, Bruce. So I gotta go the opposite of Bobby so that we balance it out. So I gotta go Habs all the way on this one.
Oh yeah, you know what?
I gotta go.
And because I host the podcast, basically my vote counts for 2. So we're gonna go. Yeah, there we go. You're right there, and we're right there. Then we I'm gonna go with Montreal. I am saying I am excited they've got this far. I want them to win, and I'm gonna pick Montreal. Cole Caulfield will score the winner for the Habs.
Did we just become best friends? Yep. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yup.
Well, folks, that tells me that that's all the time we have on this week's podcast. Scotty, you want to join us on the next podcast and we can talk more? Because we missed a whole whack of stuff to talk about this week.
Yeah, let's talk about something other than hockey.
Yeah, we got baseball. We got politics. We've got other things to talk about. And Stevie, what have we got to talk about on our website? What's on the website? Is it shows from 2008 or?
I think we've moved into the teen years by now, Bruce. So I think I'm feeling pretty good about our website presence. I'm liking it.
Okay, we've got lots of things to talk about. Bobby, anything else? You've had 17 vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
No side effects, no nothing.
None that I've noticed anyway.
Okay. Well, you'll join us for the next podcast as well.
I will. I will. I will.
He's got a little bit of a stutter from the vaccinations.
Yeah.
Vaccination.
Vaccination.
I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
Oh, Bill de Blasio. So for the Edge of Tomfoolery, my name is Bruce Mackey.
I'm Bob Morris.
I'm Steve Height.
And also with us tonight is Ben.
Scott.
Listen, if you want to come back for another podcast, you've got to get it. Got to get some oomph. So let's take that from the top again. For the Edge of Tomfoolery, my name is Bruce Mackey.
I'm Bob Morris.
I'm Steve Height.
And I'm Scott Simmons.
Oh, there you go. Love to have you drop by our Facebook page, The Edge of Tomfoolery, or our website, which is edgeoftomfoolery.com. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Have a great week.